an electric scooter is just an expensive gadget, well, those days are pretty much long gone because scooters like the new KQi3 Pro are really putting a practical spin on the e-scooter. So on the spec sheet, this model has a 350 watt motor, which basically translates into 32 kilometers per hour top speed. You also have a range of up to 51 kilometers on a single charge. You do have dual braking, meaning one on the back wheel and one on the front wheel. Additionally, it also has regenerative braking technology, so a little bit of electricity is generated and it goes right back to the battery every time you brake. If that's not enough for you, this thing also has a IP54 dust and water resistance rating, and yes, it does come with Bluetooth connectivity. And trust me when I say this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the features this thing has. So there's definitely a lot to talk about here, and yes, we are again looking at the KQi3 Pro model, so we're going to see what the scooter does, right, and exactly who it's for. As always, if you guys enjoy this review, make sure you hit that like button and sub to my channel. Thanks for watching. Let's go. NIU's Kickscooter comes in a pretty massive box, and this thing is super heavy. Seriously, it took me a while to drag from one side of the apartment to the other. Now with that said, once you proceed to actually opening up the box itself, there's a few goodies in here. First and foremost, of course, you have the instruction manual, quick start guide, and a very basic assembly kit, which I'll talk more about in a quick minute. Now, taking out the actual scooter is quite the struggle. This thing is seriously heavy. At 44 pounds, it's something to scoff at, and I'm a pretty standard dude, so yeah, it took me a few minutes to get it out, but once you have it all out, most of it is already assembled, but you do have to do a real quick assembly of attaching the handles to the rest of the body, and believe me, this takes no more than 30 seconds tops. Once that's all done and said, here is the scooter itself. This thing looks like a total beast. It is a little bit larger than your average e-scooter, but again, it's packing a lot of features, so let's get to it. NIU put a lot of thought into making this device feel as practical as possible. So you do have rubberized grips on either side of the handles, but on one side is where you have the safety warning bell as well as the brake for the rear wheel. On the other side is where you'll find the brake for the front wheel and also the acceleration throttle, which is very convenient to press. In the center of it all is where you have the power button to turn on or off the scooter, and above that you have this really nice but simple LED display. So it shows a number of metrics. The first metric at the bottom are these blocks. Each block represents about 20% of the battery remaining, and on top of that you have the speed indicator, which can be shown in kilometers or miles per hour. And above that is where you have various status indicators for the scooter. So you have Bluetooth connectivity. If the LED headlight is on, it'll show that there as well, and various other service indicators. The most interesting part is at the very front of the device. So you have this really cool looking daytime running halo light LED ring, which is always on when the device is on. But if you need more lighting for nighttime conditions or darker settings, you can also turn on the optional LED headlight. The remainder of the scooter looks pretty much like a traditional kick scooter, so you do have the fold stand towards the bottom of the headstand, which I'll talk more about later on in the video. You also, of course, have the tubeless tires themselves, and you'll notice the floorboard is actually quite wide. No matter how big or small your feet are, you'll be very comfortable standing on this thing. There's plenty of surface area here. Now, you'll also notice at the bottom you do have a kickstand anchor, which you can conveniently use to curb the device anywhere you need to. Let's get to the fun stuff, the actual riding experience. So 32 kilometers per hour may not sound so fast when you're in a car, but believe me, when you're on a scooter with nothing but you, the scooter, and all the air around you fully exposed, it feels really fast, almost dangerously so. So I'd highly advise keeping a helmet if you are planning on using this thing at the top speed. We generally found that it picks up really fast, so it can reach top speed in no more than a couple of seconds, and it can sustain it for as long as the battery allows it. On top of that, the scooter's throttle is responsive, so the more you press it, literally, the more speed you get, but it's also controllable in a way where if you want to keep it somewhere in between, you get a pretty good idea of how fast you're going. Not just that, I also appreciate the traction you have in dry conditions, and the dual wheel braking is a huge blessing because when you're going at such high speeds, it's important to be able to brake safely and quickly, and pressing the brakes literally allows that to happen in a nice and smooth motion. Although again, I would caution against braking too aggressively, so you want want to keep your center of gravity nice and balanced. With that said, you have a number of modes in this scooter. So you have sports mode, or the default mode, which like I said, kind of lets you go to the top speed. But let's say you want to stay at a slower speed, whether it's to save battery or just because you want to feel safer, you can set it to e-save mode, which basically limits the speed to about 13 kilometers per hour, which is a steady but fast enough speed so you don't feel like you're going unnecessarily fast. And let's say you want to go even slower than that because you're walking with someone. They have this really cool feature called pedestrian mode, and basically it limits the speed to no more than 5 kilometers per hour. So the scooter is basically just coasting at that point in time, and you can easily walk and talk with a person who may not be on a scooter or a bicycle, for example. It's just really practical and a really thoughtful feature. The KQi3 isn't just a pretty face. This thing is designed to be as versatile as possible, which basically means you can use it in less than ideal weather settings. So whether it's raining or you've got wet road conditions, this device or this scooter will perform just fine. Those tubeless tires offer fantastic traction, and whether you run into splashes from puddles on the road or just general wet condition or even debris, it's going to work just as intended. There's no change in functional performance, and it's not going to get damaged from it. With that said, of course, NIU does highly recommend not to use it in rain if you don't have to, because like any other motor vehicle, you do have increased braking distance, which can be a bit of a safety hazard if you're not careful. When you are done using the scooter, you can remove or unlock the fold lock and the device just kind of collapses on itself. Now, I will warn you again, at 44 pounds, this is a very heavy scooter and children most definitely will not be able to lift it, so there will be some supervision required. Keep that in mind. The final but equally exciting feature I want to talk about now is the NIU Kickscooter app. This thing is an absolute must-have. Now, as I mentioned, that this scooter comes with built-in Bluetooth connectivity. And what happens once you pair the app with the scooter is essentially you can see useful metrics like how much battery life is left on the scooter or how much longer till it fully charges, which usually takes about 6 hours from 0 to 100%. You can also see various other useful metrics like, for example, how much distance you traveled in a given trip or even the total mileage on this device. But it goes even a step further. You can configure all these settings like the regenerative braking system, for example, or set custom speed modes. You can even perform over-the-air updates directly from the phone app itself. It would be almost foolish not to have this app if you're getting this scooter, to be honest. In summary, the KQi3 Pro retails at approximately $800 USD. And yes, this is an expensive scooter. It's not pretending to be a budget or value-oriented device. But what you get at that price are some really pro-grade features. You have fantastic range. 50 kilometers is enough for you to genuinely commute back to work and come back home on a single charge. On top of that, that top speed of up to 32 kilometers is definitely great because if you are seeking thrill, you'll get it in this scooter. And it's definitely higher than a lot of other budget or cheaper scooters out there. But generally speaking, the thing I like the most is the sturdy build quality. NIU claims you can get up to 15,000 kilometers, if not more, in terms of overall lifespan with this scooter. And I definitely believe that. It's just so well built, and those tubeless tires do a great job at picking up traction, reducing shock that you get from, going on rough roads. It's just really well built. On top of that, having Bluetooth connectivity on this device really gives you an added layer or dimension of information that you wouldn't otherwise have. But hey, if that's too much for you or the features are overkill, you can always shave off $100 and get the KQi3 Sports Edition, which has slightly reduced specifications like a lower top speed as well as range. And if even that is too overkill for you, you can get the KQi2 Pro, which is essentially a further reduced version of this variant. And again, it's going to be cheaper at $600, which, might be a better deal for a lot of people. But overall, no matter which one of these ones you're considering, I can wholeheartedly endorse these kick scooters. They're designed with top-notch quality and a lot of just practicality in mind. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and sub to my channel. It genuinely helps me grow. Thank you for watching.